Hello everyone, and welcome to TBR's webcast, Shifting Tides in IT, the Technological and Behavioral Change Drivers for IT. My name is Allison Crawford, Marketing Manager here at Technology Business Research, and I will be your host for today's session. As many of you know, TBR provides unique, company-centric analysis on a consistent, timely basis, and the information we'll be covering today comes directly from our 2012 IT Decision Maker Trends Report. This report covers what IT Decision Makers report as changes from 2011 to 2012 in IT spending, IT focus, IT mission, and vendor perceptions, among other topics. This report, and other similar reports from our computing research team, includes information that, as one of our largest customers attest to, unlike most analyst firms, these guys dig into the numbers and really do a good job at providing fact-based research. So, before we dig into the details we learned, I want to do some basic housekeeping. First, we will be recording today's session and posting it to the TBR YouTube channel if you'd like to watch the presentation again or pass it along to your colleagues. Second, as I mentioned, this is an interactive session, so we encourage you to ask us any questions that arise during the webcast. I will be collecting the questions throughout the session and posting them to our analysts at the end of the presentation. Third, we will send out the slides to everyone registered for today's webcast within 24 hours of the conclusion of the presentation. Now, let me introduce Christian Perry, Ezra Gottheil, and Ken Hyers of TBR's computing practice. Ezra, our social media, consumer PCs, and tablets mastermind, will lead off the conversation, followed by Ken, our resident mobile devices guru, followed by Christian Perry, TBR's newest expert in all things data center. So let's get started. Ezra?
Thank you, Alice. First slide. The IT world is changing faster than ever before. Faster than the PC revolution of the 80s, faster than the internet revolution of the 90s. Mobile devices and the constant compulsive connectivity they foster are changing everything. Or are they? Some things are unchanged, like missions, budgets, and schedules. We are going to talk about how things are changing and how they are not. Each of us will talk about our specialties. We're basing our discussion on our ongoing research informed by a recent survey of 105 IT decision makers in medium to large companies. First, I'll give a brief overview. Then we'll work our way through the hardware world, working from small to large, because it's the smallest devices that are changing fastest. Ken Hyers will talk about small iron, handsets and data networks. I will talk about medium iron, tablets and PCs. And Christian Perry will talk about big iron, servers and storage. And we will then be inviting questions. Remember that while we tend to focus on news, most things are pretty constant, and big changes tend to take time. We will be mindful of IT's enduring mission and constraints as a context for no changes in longer-term trends, like cloud, consumerization, and mobile devices. We're looking most closely at things that are changing right now, as reported by our IT decision makers, and we will be making some predictions based on our research and our experience. It is not news that IT is increasingly important to business. What is new this year is the increase in IT relevance is accelerating. Coming out of the recovery from the recession, that is, we're no longer recovering, we're now building for the future. Driven by amazing increases in connectivity, 2012 is, we believe, an inflection point. The key is leveraging new technology and the data it generates to drive business results faster, while, of course, maintaining security. While budgets are still tight, the great majority of IT decision makers reported that their primary objective is delivering business results faster. In almost all categories, in both medium and large businesses, budgets are increasing. IT shops are increasing their support for virtually every platform, but the list of supported platforms is much larger than it was 2 years ago. This puts two conflicting priorities near the top of the list for IT decision makers: delivering data, applications, and services everywhere, and securing, supporting, and managing every device on the network. Now that we've looked at our approach and summarized some across-the-board findings, Ken Hyers will discuss those little but powerful computers in our pockets, mobile handsets.
Thank you, Ezra. Let's go to slide 7, please. TBR survey research confirms an undeniable trend in the enterprise today, and that's the increasing role of smartphones and tablets, which are being used to access corporate data. In some respects, these mobile devices are beginning to displace the PC as a primary data access tool in the enterprise. While neither the smartphone nor the tablet actually match the PC in terms of computing power, processing speed, storage, or even most of the other metrics used to measure PC capabilities, smartphones, and especially tablets, do outperform PCs in two very important metrics. They're extremely portable, and they're typically less expensive than a PC. They also support constant connectivity, which means more productivity as worker availability increases in hand with mobile device penetration growth. The transition to smartphones and other mobile devices is being driven by a shift away from a company-owned mobile devices for workers to employee-owned mobile devices. And while in the past, particularly in the US, mobile devices that access enterprise data were provided by the enterprise to workers, TBR research shows that over the last 2 years, a major shift has occurred. And now 75% of businesses support both corporate liable and personal liable mobile devices which access enterprise data. And in many cases, as more workers bring their own mobile devices into the workplace, the capital cost to enterprises for these devices are very much lower than for a PC. It's worth noting, however, that operational costs will rise as more mobile devices in the workplace drive and generate higher data usage and volumes, and create the need for enterprises to greatly expand their efforts in mobile device management in order to manage how data is accessed and to protect data security. Mobile devices also affect the data center, as greater volumes of data traffic generate a greater need for data storage and access at the enterprise back end. These increased volumes are in fact a major contributor to the resurgence of IT and its increased relevance to the businesses it serves, as mobile devices drive demand for device management, data management, and device security. These factors are driving IT decision makers to give much greater consideration to PC alternatives than they have in the recent past. Mobile devices both cost less and enable greater worker flexibility, and therefore are gaining a higher profile for enterprise decision makers as they make computing equipment choices. Let's go to the next slide, slide 8, please. Microsoft is the perennial leader in enterprise computing, with what looks like an unassailable perch as the most popular personal computing OS platform. But its market share, if not its leading position, is threatened from a new direction as the Apple iPhone and iPad act as a Trojan horse, whose popularity is leading IT departments to consider the Mac as an alternative to Microsoft OS PCs. And while the more expensive Apple personal computers will never be a threat to the overall dominance of Microsoft in the corporate PC environment, they are becoming more highly regarded for specific applications and work types, as iPad-toting workers look to link their tablets with Apple PCs. Microsoft, which has never been a powerhouse in the mobile market, is looking to establish itself in the space, and in the process, erect a firewall against the steady encroachment of the Mac into the corporate environment. While it has less than a 2% share of the total smartphone market, Microsoft's mobile OS is set for major improvement in 2012. The new Windows Phone UI is, in its own way, extremely elegant and user-friendly, though very unlike Apple's mobile UI. It has, as a standard bearer, the global mobile phone leader, Nokia, which is investing hundreds of millions in marketing dollars to support the rollout of new Windows Phone smartphones. In addition, other leading mobile device OEMs, wary of ceding too much of their future and control to Google's Android platform, are also hedging their bets by introducing Windows Phone devices. In the enterprise, these companies will be supported by Microsoft's own extremely well-developed sales channels, who will offer strong support to enterprise IT and to the developer community to encourage them to choose Windows Phone devices. The true test of Microsoft's mobile strategy and whether it can stem the growing strength of Apple and to a lesser degree Android smartphones in the enterprise will come this fall when Windows Phone 8 Apollo is introduced. The introduction of the newest iteration of Microsoft's mobile platform will coincide with the introduction of Windows 8 for the PC. And with it, Microsoft will make a compelling case for its own software, PC, phone, tablet story to compete with Apple's. Windows Phone 8 Apollo promises to make full convergence across PCs and mobile devices possible. TBR believes that Apollo, combined with a robust portfolio of mobile products from OEMs and a strong marketing campaign and developer support, will lead many IT departments to support Windows Phone products. In turn, adoption of Microsoft OS mobile devices will encourage enterprises to make PC purchases with an eye towards integrating Microsoft's software ecosystem solutions across all their devices, which will drive new PC sales and slow the encroachment of Apple in the enterprise. With Windows Phone OS smartphones beginning to come to market in volume in 2012, Microsoft can offer a credible alternative to IT decision makers who are looking at the increasing popularity of iOS in the enterprise and are wondering if the long-held belief that no one is ever fired for buying Windows still holds true. Let's go to slide 9, please. Microsoft will find it difficult to slow Apple's encroachment into the enterprise. The iPhone and the iPad have become fixtures of mobile phone workers across a number of different industry verticals. Workers value the elegant simplicity of Apple's mobile products, and enterprises value the better levels of security the devices offer, particularly when compared to Android OS devices. They also value the ability to develop or purchase applications that improve mobile worker productivity. Let's go to slide 10, please. For much of the last decade, enterprises established RIM's BlackBerry as their primary smartphone, alongside, to a lesser degree, Microsoft Windows smartphones. And over the past couple of years, TBR research shows that many enterprises are moving to new mobile platforms. 41% of enterprises now support at least 2 smartphone platforms and related mobile device management systems, and 25% support 3 or more. All other mobile OSs are in a come-from-behind position at this point, as Apple's iPhone and iPad ride the crest of a new wave of mobile products in the enterprise. The big loser in that wave is BlackBerry, whose failure to anticipate the new ways in which workers would use mobile devices in the enterprise, and its continued failure to innovate, as Apple has showed the way, have consigned it to a steadily shrinking share of the enterprise mobile device market. Among businesses of all sizes surveyed by TBR, the BlackBerry platform shows the lowest expected utilization rate for 2012 of any of the major mobile platforms. In other words, businesses in 2012 expect to move away from BlackBerry smartphones and to Windows Phone, Android, and Apple mobile devices. And while Apple is quickly filling the vacuum left by BlackBerry's implosion, Google's Android devices are also showing some success in infiltrating the enterprise. While Android was hobbled by the perception among IT decision makers throughout 2010 and much of 2011 that its mobile data security solutions were not robust enough to be considered enterprise grade, TBR's IT trend study shows that perceptions are changing, with the Android platform showing the most increased utilization within the enterprise of any mobile platform, that I should say. Despite the fear that wide variations in OS and UI implementation across Android mobile devices from various OEMs will create difficulty in mobile device management, employees continue to bring the devices into the enterprise at a growing rate. Nonetheless, IT managers still prefer iOS devices because they offer a consistent experience and platform across all Apple mobile products. And now, to talk about tablets and PCs, or medium iron, here's Ezra.
Thank you, Ken. We believe the distinctions between devices are unimportant and will become even less important going forward. While traditional PC sales are slowing, in part because of tablets, our respondents are expecting to spend more on Windows PCs and support more Windows PCs in the coming year. In fact, the fact that the two types of devices require support, management, and security means that for IT, the upshot of the device revolution is primarily a lot more devices, yielding a lot more data and a lot more interactions. For PC vendors, it means that the market for the traditional devices faces slower growth going forward, and they must offer other form factors to sustain growth and profitability. Tablets was the leader in topics IT decision makers were going to pay more attention to in 2012. IT is tolerating, even embracing device growth because these devices bring IT closer to the heart of business, the sales floor and the shop floor. If PCs and tablets are just different form factors, what's the big deal? The big deal is diversity, a challenge to IT's mission of support, management, and security. IT is faced with an increasing number of different devices, different in form factors, user interfaces, and operating systems. This makes them harder to manage, support, and secure than an equivalent bunch of identical or similar devices. The ability to get to and use data from everything is critical to business solutions, and diverse devices will drive data and applications to in the data center. If Windows 8 works well and has a tolerable user interface, and signs are that it will, one operating system across all devices will be very appealing, but both IT and users will still live in a diverse world. The worst thing any vendor could do is to try to lock users in, and most IT decision makers will not benefit from a similar approach. They know it. The top three topics that they will be paying more attention to in 2012 are mobile device security, tablets, and employee-owned devices on the network. When asked to rank goals, 41% put either secure, support, and manage any device on the network or deliver data, applications, and services anywhere at the top of their list. It's like the Tower of Babel. Once there is diversity, achieving uniformity is very difficult. Synchronization. IT decision makers are already treating delivering data and applications anywhere as a goal, and this is, implicitly, a synchronization problem. We believe synchronization will be a big topic in the future. It's an inevitable need when users have multiple devices. They want to use their data and often their applications with all their devices without having to think about it. Vendors are all already providing solutions and are usually savvy enough to integrate with other platforms. For IT, the problem is one of providing users with both personal and business data while maintaining data security. When asked about changes in IT spending, increases in security services spending were second only to increases in storage spending, and mobile device security was the topic receiving the greatest increase in attention. Right now, with all vendors offering their own solutions, there are too many synchronization solutions. Ultimately, the device itself is unimportant. The usage model rules. IT needs to make sure each device can access the data and ensure it is not an avenue for a breach. But with the data centralized, the specific device doesn't matter. TBR believes centralization of data provides opportunities for both vendors and IT to provide devices on an as-needed basis, as in leasing or rentals, short and long-term, and office hoteling. For vendors, synchronization backup, coupled with support services, allows providing devices as a service, a potentially extremely profitable way of selling devices. We believe 2012 is a tipping point year for multiple diverse devices in the enterprise. The trend started with BlackBerries and literally got out of control with iPhones. Android and iPads increased the noise level, but the real decision-making waited for Microsoft. TBR's tablet studies conducted last year generated two major findings that contradicted the conventional wisdom of the time and were confirmed by year-end. One, smaller, less expensive tablets were an important trend, and two, most IT organizations were not in a hurry to implement tablet strategies and were willing to wait to see Microsoft's entry. The IT decision makers weren't committing to Microsoft, but they certainly wanted the ability to evaluate the three major platforms. At the same time, however, most organizations had iPhones and at least a few iPads, and their perception of Apple improved a great deal. When we asked IT decision makers about changes in their perceptions of vendor companies, all companies enjoyed improved perceptions, but Apple won most improved. Microsoft's standing also improved, however. It ended up in the middle of the pack in terms of improvement. IT trusts Microsoft. TBR believes Microsoft will emerge from 2012 as a winner, and depending on how IT evaluate Windows 8, perhaps as a big winner in business tablets. Because we believe tablets are just another kind of PC, Windows 8 is pretty important to Microsoft, to IT, and to vendors to IT. TBR will be conducting research on the impact of Windows 8 as it rolls out. Even if Windows 8 is wildly successful, however, IT will still be faced with a mixed environment. This egg cannot be unscrambled. We see challenges and opportunities in device and data, security, and management. Now, Christian Perry, our senior analyst covering data center hardware, will talk about the big stuff.
Thank you, Ezra. As Ken and Ezra explained, the future looks bright for both Apple and Microsoft in the enterprise. From mobile devices to impressive evolution on more conventional platforms, these and other companies are ushering in a new age of data consumption. Today's enterprise is a connected enterprise. Where once business data was generated only from within company walls, today it's flowing in from all directions, both inside and outside of company walls. The rise of cloud mobility has spawned a big data pipeline that in turn has created a thriving storage market. We mentioned that mobile devices are beginning to displace PCs in the enterprise. But that hasn't decreased the amount of enterprise data. In fact, smartphones and tablets tend to increase data because now employees are always connected and always generating data. And it's the way businesses are using this data that's helping to drive the direction of their dollars, and not just for applications, but also for storage. It isn't all about simply storing the data. It's now about finding ways to derive value from the data through more efficient, flexible access, through analytics. According to our study, the most important factor to IT professionals when evaluating technology decisions is the effectiveness of the technology. When it comes to storage, businesses aren't just looking for capacity, but speed to access data. They're looking for more effective, flexible fabrics that let businesses derive more value from their data. Big data is now everywhere, and it's helping organizations find new ways to improve productivity and boost innovation of their own products and services. Big data has its roots in tools that more efficiently capture data that's always been around. The data is now flowing in from plenty of other areas, such as social media, multimedia sources, and integration with websites and other internet resources. So not only does all of this big data need to be stored, but it needs to be useful, because otherwise it's just costing money to store it. Our study found that the need to address and manage big data is increasingly on the minds of IT decision makers. Based on this data, we expect to see an uptick in big data spending over the coming 12 months as businesses look for ways to take advantage of their data stockpiles. This includes both conventional storage technologies and more specialized appliances designed to process the data. Looking at storage, we see that as data flows, storage spending grows. If there's a constant in the data center, it's data growth. IT departments are constantly pushed to do more with less. But there's one area that appears to be isolated from that push, and that's storage. There's no getting around data growth. As both workers and IT departments increasingly support mobile devices using iOS and other platforms, data is accumulating rapidly as the enterprise data ecosystem stretches its boundaries to new realms. Although small and mid-sized organizations aren't quite getting overwhelmed by storage demands, we found that they still plan on spending heavily on storage along with security services, software, and network services. Moving on up to large enterprises, storage eclipses all other categories when it comes to planned IT spending. If it hasn't already, storage will represent the bulk of IT spending in the near future, at least in large enterprises. Part of this focus on storage can also be attributed to the performance and stability of architectures on the server and networking side. In those areas, there's plenty of speed and stability in the typical environment, leaving businesses with more dollars to move towards storage. It's no giant surprise to us that storage spending is increasing as data demands skyrocket. But things are certainly changing around that movement. In fact, the more things change, the more things change. Businesses rely on mature technologies to keep their business stable, but it appears they won't hesitate to move to so-called future technologies if they represent a true opportunity to keep that stability, but also save money. More than half of the IT pros we surveyed indicated that the infrastructures they operate, manage, and support are in some state of change. For example, many IT decision makers now expect to move their data center to new technologies. So what's behind this move? Money. The bigger the data center, the bigger the overall savings when a space is populated with more efficient technologies. We also found that many IT shops are moving applications away from mainframe servers. We all know that the x86 server market is thriving, but the ARM market also bears watching. There are now servers that can run quickly and efficiently on ARM chips originally designed for mobile devices. But we can expect some data centers to one day begin consolidating at least a portion of their spaces through the integration of smaller ARM servers. But don't let the small size fool you. These mighty mites will have plenty of speed to complement their power efficiency. Keep in mind that the respondents in our IT trend study are keenly aware of the technologies that can help their business. When we asked about the role of their IT organization in their company, IT decision makers offered up the following, quote, "We are technology experts allowing users to get the information they need and the customers to accomplish their goals." And here's what another said, quote, "We are dedicated to supporting the company business and aim to improve it." So when these IT pros say they're moving to or away from a certain technology, they're not doing it because of a wow factor. They're doing it because it will help their operations and help their business. That's important to remember. Of course, technologies that help the business can come with a price beyond just dollars. As the number of enterprise devices increases, IT departments are quickly discovering that it's not just storage that undergoes strain, but also servers, as these devices access enterprise resources and demand constant synchronization. In the past, when employees left the office for home or for travel, in-house servers got a break from their data demands. Not anymore. Employees remain connected. Historically, we've seen organizations replacing their servers every 3 or so years. However, TBR's study found that nearly half of the IT decision makers in our study purchased x86 servers in the last year. Also, note that these servers aren't just occupying space for general workloads. In many cases, they're being used for mission-critical workloads. More than half of the survey respondents said they run at least half of their mission-critical workloads on x86 servers. So what's driving this push towards x86? There's no doubt that performance is a big part of it. And actually, performance may even be a bigger contributor in the near future with the new Xeon chips from Intel. But above all, businesses are looking at the bottom line. And if x86 servers are able to run their mission-critical apps without breaking the bank, that's where the money is going to go. Mobility is creating a sense of urgency across the enterprise to ensure that every device is accommodated, and part of that equation includes servers that deliver a balanced mix of price and performance. At both large and small data centers, efficiency is imperative. If IT buyers are able to replace aging mainframes or even order x86 models with smaller, more power-efficient x86 models that deliver similar or even better horsepower, it becomes a no-brainer decision. These types of overhauls can also free up valuable floor space, which can cut cooling costs or provide space for other appliances. There's no doubt that explosive growth is on the way for IT through the surge of mobile devices, the increasing acceptance of mobile operating systems in the enterprise space, and the potential of storage and server vendors to meet the task of meeting this growth with products and technologies that meet that demand. Ezra?
Thank you, Christian. In conclusion, we have shown that the growth of IT and its importance is accelerating, fueled by more devices, more connectivity, and more data. 2012 is a year of decision for IT and a year of opportunity for vendors. Ken Hyers spoke about the handsets. I talked about tablets and PCs, and Christian spoke about data center hardware. TBR's computing and storage practice conducts a wide range of research and provides actionable intelligence to the IT industry. Here is a list of things we are working on now. Now, who has the first question?
Thanks, Ezra. So we've had a couple questions come in. I want to encourage anyone that has any additional questions to send them in. The first question is directed to Christian. You mentioned that storage spending will continue to increase. What technologies do you see receiving the bulk of these investments?
I think that's a good question. The way things seem to be lining up now, we could be looking at the year of flash. Of course, hard drive prices are still high. We see them as high as 15% in the enterprise space due to the Thailand flooding. That's not changing much. We don't expect that to change soon. And the interesting thing is flash prices continue to drop. They're not hitting rock bottom, but they're dropping enough to make an impact. And let's face it, nobody really looks forward to buying and configuring a big storage array. So another trend we're going to begin to see in the coming year is data centers moving at least a portion of their cool data to cloud storage and moving more of their hot data to flash storage. And this will increase over the coming years, but I think this is something we're definitely going to see happening this year.
Great, thanks, Christian. Our next question is for Ezra. What do you mean by devices as a service? I've never heard of it.
Okay, devices as a service is a term that we created to deal with what we think is a potential new business model for dealing with PCs and, for that matter, with tablets and handsets in a way that will both serve customers better and increase margins for vendors. The idea is that what customers, particularly consumers and very small businesses, VSBs, want is assurance that their device will work, data security, and no hassles, no problems. That's one of the things that's driving many PC sales to Apple, despite its high entry prices. PC vendors and other device vendors could, we believe, provide devices that on a leasing basis that are backed up regularly and can be restored and replacement devices shipped overnight, such that the user can stay working and be assured their data is always present and have less hassle in maintaining their data, maintaining their devices. In exchange, of course, they would buy these devices on a leasing basis and would expect high-end support services. This is an opportunity to vendors to get a good deal more wallet for the devices themselves and to differentiate themselves from each other.
Great, thanks, Ezra. The next question we have is, you have said that Microsoft Phone will give Microsoft the ability to protect its share of the enterprise market, but Microsoft doesn't have much market share in mobile phones anymore, and Apple and Google are rapidly gaining share in businesses. Why do you think that Windows Phone will be successful against the other two? I think it's over to you, Ken.
I think that's for me, Allison. This is Ken.
Okay.
So really what's going on is that Microsoft has traditionally had a small share of the market, of the smartphone market. And what we're seeing now, obviously, is with the iPhone explosion, iPhone is really moving in very strongly into the enterprise. Android has had much less ability to make incursions into the market simply because while a lot of consumers use Android phones, a lot of enterprises are concerned about the security capabilities of the devices. But not everybody uses an iPhone, and with the new Windows Phone 8 platform coming out and Windows 8 platform coming out, this really does create an opportunity for business users and the segment of consumers, prosumers, that use a smartphone for both their their personal life and their business life, to adopt a phone that is compatible with all of the features that they use regularly on their PC, that integrates well with the PC, and frankly, from my own use of Windows Phone devices so far, is an elegant and easy to use UI and OS. So I think that what you're going to see here is a lot of enterprise users, consumers and business workers are going to find that the platform provides a good experience both in their personal life and in the enterprise. And so that's going to drive a lot more demand for the device, for the platform.
Okay, so the question we have next is, how will IT manage and secure all these devices?
We believe that the opportunity here is for management as a managed service, the outsourcing of the management of multiple devices. The devices themselves are mobile. They're often operated off campus. There's a great diversity of these devices, and for any internal IT shop to keep adding the devices which they manage and support will be a challenge. And we think services that provide management and security of multiple devices have an opportunity. One of their opportunities is to solve the synchronization conundrum. Right now, synchronization is typically provided in partnership with the hardware device vendor, but since these are devices from multiple vendors, users have choices about synchronization. There's possible lack of synchronization among the synchronization services. And for business devices or devices used at times in business, an outsourced service would be appropriate.
Great, thanks, Ezra. Our next question is, how do you expect software support for ARM vendors to develop? Are you expecting the big vendors like SAP, Oracle, VMware, etc., to support in the near term?
This is Christian. Yeah, I think over time we're definitely going to see SAP, VMware, Microsoft, and others jump on the ARM platform. But like any young platform, the software stack still needs some work. But once it does mature, you'll see some of the well-known vendors certainly jumping on board. In the meantime, we may see some smaller software vendors take advantage of the platform, especially on the web application side and the web serving side. The x86 platform certainly is mature, but there's some bloat in the code. So application vendors are certainly going to like the clean code of the ARM platform to start with, even though it might have some bumps and bruises along the way.
Great, thanks. We had another question come in related to ARM. Beyond energy efficiency, what opportunities do you see for ARM servers?
Well, this definitely goes back to the code. The code does need to mature a bit, but the big thing is price. ARM servers, anything on the ARM platform is going to be far cheaper than what we're going to see with other more mature platforms. Big enterprises with big budgets might not be tempted to move to ARM, at least initially, but the mid-market and smaller companies will certainly be attracted to the less expensive servers. And that's not to say that big data centers won't be lending a serious eye at ARM servers because of the heat factor. With other platforms, you'll be looking at more electricity to run them, and of course, more electricity generally means more heat. So data centers must pay for the cooling necessary to remove the heat. But don't overlook the competition either. Intel and likely AMD are certainly in line with the low wattage trend. So they're going to be on board with this trend with similar chips, especially if ARM starts to cut into the market.
Great. Our next question, I think this goes back to mobile devices. So Ken, you mentioned that mobile devices are replacing PCs in the enterprise. Aren't they just being purchased in addition to PCs? Do you really think that smartphones and tablets can replace a laptop? Ken or Ezra?
Why don't I take it first, Ezra, and then you can jump in if you have any additional questions or thoughts on it. I don't want to overstate it. Certainly what we're seeing right now is that enterprises are finding new uses for smartphones and for tablets for things like field force automation, simply allowing workers in the field to be able to stay connected and to respond to everything from email to get routing to a new site. So what's happening is in the past where a worker may have had to use a PC to get the information they needed, a laptop to get the information they needed. Now what we're seeing is that and what enterprises are discovering is that a tablet or even a smartphone can fill those needs. So instead of having to equip workers in all settings with a laptop, you can give them a tablet. Or better yet, they can bring their own tablet in and use that to access the information they need and save the enterprise from having to purchase that device. Ezra, do you have any additional?
Yes, I think that what you will rarely see is someone who in the past used a PC have the next device issued or authorized by the company to be a tablet and no PC. But I think what you will see is people who in the past have not had either being given a tablet, and in the supposed alternative future in which tablets were not available, they might have been given a notebook. And you see that in people for whom mobility is most important, who are running the same apps all the time. Again, the shop floor and the retail floor, things like that. So it's sort of this and that at the same time. Now, it's important to understand that some people are already running multiple PCs, and where we've already seen cannibalization is where tablets are replacing what would have been a second or third PC device.
Great.
Ezra, actually, I'll add to that, Ezra. In one of our recent focus groups, we saw exactly that among some IT decision makers, where given a choice for being issued an upgrade to their existing laptop or being given an upgrade to a tablet, they chose to keep their existing laptop and take a tablet as a additional device. So that was an opportunity for the IT department to retain existing assets, and instead of upgrading to a new laptop, issue a tablet in addition to the old laptop. And we may see more of that.
Certainly.
Thanks, Ken. Our next question is, do you see Microsoft Windows 8 security and the ability to tie into a company's already existing Microsoft security fabric as an advantage over iOS?
Yes, I think that's definitely an advantage. If it is the question is it enough of an advantage to cause the institution to authorize Microsoft devices only and to try to reduce and eventually eliminate the installation of iOS devices on the network? I think that's probably not a case. The iOS device appears to be adequately securable, but clearly it's some different software and some diversity. But companies have had to deal with it now. We're going on, 5 years. So handling iOS devices is not something they don't want to do. The place where there's still not a solid solution, and we certainly expect Microsoft to provide one, and it's not clear that Apple or the third-party apps vendors will provide an adequate one, is in data compatibility, particularly with Office apps. Now, there's rumors going both ways whether Microsoft is going to provide Office apps for iOS as it does for OS X, for the Mac PC operating system. But right now, that is the chief opportunity for making IT prefer Microsoft devices. Great.
We've reached the end of the web presentation. I wanted to thank everyone for participating today. I have put on the screen the list of the analysts that were speaking today. I'd encourage you to follow all of them on Twitter to find out what research they'll be working on in the coming weeks and months. Some great information you guys gave us today on IT trends. I wanted to wrap up the conversation today with some more information about their research and the panel, so you can see that here. If anyone would like to get more information on what we just covered or any of the other related reports that TBR publishes, we've listed them at the end of the presentation, and you'll be getting the slides within 24 hours. If you'd like to ask a question that we didn't get to today, we're going to leave the chat function open for another 10 minutes or so you guys have a chance to dial back in and ask us any more questions. And if you're interested in connecting with the analysts that presented, please do feel free to reach out to set up an inquiry, or you can reach out to our VP of Sales, James McElroy, at james.mcelroy, MCILLROY, @tbri.com. Thanks, everyone, for your time, and have a great afternoon.